Pleasure and honor to be here. I have the occasion often to speak before audiences of folk that King once described as the creative minority of the concerned. The creative minority of the concerned. That's a powerful descriptor of the people who came together over the 14 years that he fought to make this country live up to its founding principles of freedom, liberty, and democracy. And so on this day, we have yet another occasion to come together and to remind ourselves of what his legacy is and the unfinished work that remains. I also want to say that a recent returnee to the New York area. My father's lived in New York since I was 9. Lived in Jamaica, Queens, and Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and has resided on the Upper West Side in Morningside Heights in Harlem since 1990. But most of the time over those years, I was either in Chicago or Philadelphia and then pursuing graduate work at Rutgers. When the appointment was announced that I would take over the Schomburg Center, celebrating its 85th year, the world's leading repository for the collection, preservation, and interpretation of Black artifacts related to people all over the world. The assumption, of course, is that I would live in Harlem. Folks who know Harlemites are very proud of their community, and they have every reason to be proud. So I hid the fact as best I could that my family would be moving to New Jersey. In part because that's where I started my adult life, got married in New Jersey. Children were born in Essex County. Went to first public schools there. I'd gone to graduate school there. And so this is a nice place to be because I know New Jersey is in the house. That doesn't happen very often, speaking at city functions. And so Mr. Lewis represents born and bred, represents Brooklyn. So this is a nice pairing. Picking up on something that he said earlier about adult conversations. I think that's a nice way of putting what I see as the urgent work that the Schomburg needs to do in terms of where our young people are today. It could be said that 2 generations of young people growing up in what we recognize as a post-civil rights era, an era after the passage of that legislation of 64 and 1965, those young people have in one form or another been told to be forward-looking, to dream about the future, to look forward to what is yet to come. And so the value of history has over time diminished. For them, and in this context of post-civil rights, history has been seen as disabling, depressing, disempowering. It's an odd and contradictory development given how crucial history was to motivating the generation that gave birth to King. King, as you all know, did not, like Superman, fall out of the sky and deign to attempt the impossible. He inherited traditions of scholarship and the great bastion of Black higher learning in Atlanta, where Spelman and Morehouse colleges are, where the great Benjamin Mays tutored him on not only the importance of learning and taking school seriously. King was not a serious student. in his early days. He was an aspiring football player, as small as he was, a bit of a mama's boy. But it was through the opportunities and the high standards set by that community that nurtured him, and its long-standing commitment to Black people's excellence in a world that often saw the excellent as those most worthy of repression. One of the things I used to tell my students in teaching them African American history was that in the early days after slavery, the people most likely to be victims of racial violence or subterfuge, to be run out of town, were the most successful in the community, were the most articulate. You all know, of course,